Okay, so welcome to your anatomy lesson for the day. So we are going to have a quick look at the foot in regards to obviously the plantar fasciitis that we've been talking about. So what is it that you need to know? Well, so what we've got first of all, let's get these two bones out of the way. These are your leg bones. That's your tibia and your fibulus. There's two bones in the leg. So let's come down to the foot. So the foot then is made up of 26 bones. Each foot has 26 bones. It's got over 30 joints and it's got well over 100 muscles, ligaments and tendons as well. It's got 4 arches. So we've got this long arch on the inside. We've got another long arch on the outside, and then we've got some transverse arches that go across. Okay, so we've got the long arch either side and then transverse arches that go across. So what's the point of having those? Well, the point of having those is they allow the foot to function as a nice springy structure. So as you're walking along and being propelled along, the actual arches, they'll drop slightly, and then as you just toe off, they'll come back to life again, or they should come back to life again. That's the key. So you can have problems, we know, with the arches. They can be flat arches, you can lose your arches, or they can be too high. So as with most musculoskeletal problems, and a lot of problems generally, it's either too much or it's too little. So too flat or too high. Obviously if they flatten out, you get this dropping of the arch. If also as they flatten out, you get a splaying also of the feet, of the toes as well. So that can cause other problems which we can talk about later. For me as an osteopath, probably one of the most important joints in the body are the joints of the big toe, which we can come on to in later videos. But the big toe is a super important joint. Problems with that or immobility of that can cause problems all the way up what we call the locomotor chain. Okay, so that's your foot. On the bottom, we're talking about our plantar fasciitis. So plantar just means bottom. Fascia means like a connective tissue, and anything that has itis on the end, tendonitis, laryngitis, gastritis, just means inflammation. So plantar fasciitis means inflammation at the bottom of the foot. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know. So the plantar fascia also helps to give that nice shape and support of the arch. It is an arch, like the arch of a bridge. It should be rounded. And the plantar fascia attaches onto your heel bone and then spreads along the bottom of the foot and then attaches onto your toes here. Okay, these are the metatarsals. So from here to here, it also attaches, it continues and it attaches into your calf muscles. So your calf muscles sitting here, which is why, stretching your calf muscles is like super important. Yeah, so as you stretch your calf muscle, so you might do a stretch where you sort of lean forward and it stretches out through here. Not only will you be stretching the calf, but you'll also be stretching the plantar fascia as well to a certain degree. Okay, so we're going to have a little closer look in a second on how we can mobilise these arches as well. So the foot is taking most of the weight from above. It's having to absorb that as a shock absorber. It's also taking the impact from below. So as you move along, should be doing that. So problems occur, as I say, if you lose your arches, or your arches, not always the case, but the arches can be too high. That can cause problems as well. Okay, so that's what you need to know. That's your whistle-stop tour of the foot so far. So a lot of the joints in the foot, they don't move a great deal, but you can actually move them. So you actually have to get your hands on them yourself, or someone else could do it for you, but you can do it yourself. And it's one of the things that certainly if you're going to go running, if you can do any form of exercise, or you're just going to go walking, it's a good habit to get into. Lots of people do a little bit of token stretching, but actually if you try and mobilise your feet, 2 or 3 minutes on each foot can make a massive difference, particularly if you're going to be walking over undulating terrains, that sort of thing. So what we'll do is we'll do it on the skeleton first, so you've got an idea, and then I'll show you on my foot the sort of things that you can do just to keep your feet mobile, but also prevents things such as plantar fasciitis. So what you can see First of all, there's the heel bone there. So if I just move that, it's only a tiny movement, but that does slide and mobilise around. And that is something, again, that you can encourage and you can do. As you move things, you get better lubrication, you get a nice good blood flow flooding into the area. So what we've got here on this foot is the inner arch. So what we'll do now is just have a look at the joins up the arch. So we've got a join here, a join here, and a join here. So what we'll do, let's try and mobilise each one of those. So I'm going to use the whole of my hand just to hold that still. And then once that's nice and still, I'm going to grip round. And this joint is a ball and socket joint, so we can move it in a bit of a circle. So just move it in a circle. Okay, so that's doing all the work and we're mobilising around there. Okay, once you've worked that for a few seconds, you just slide this hand up. So we're now holding on to this bone and we're going to work on this particular joint. So same sort of thing, and this time this particular joint is more of a shearing movement, so it's down and up, like you're wringing out a cloth or something. Down and up, down and up. Yep, you've guessed it. Let's move along again, and then we're going to come into here, and again this is again similar thing, it's a shearing motion, so I can just move up and down, maybe with a little bit of circular motion as well. Okay, brilliant. All right, so let's just turn the foot over and you can start to see all the little bones of the feet again. So again, where these bones meet, joints are actually formed. So this bone, for example, is meeting that one, it's meeting in there, it's also meeting in there, it's also meeting in there. So we can just hold this one and we can start to shear it. A lot of the actual movements in the foot are shearing joints or plane joints. So you can start to move up and down. We can move along and start to move up and down. You probably won't get this much movement out of your own foot because this is obviously a model, but you can start to move along and you can see that shearing motion. Here are the metatarsals. So again, we can start to shear between these, up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, let's come into the toes. If I turn it this way slightly, so I can just grip over the top and just pull back slightly and just traction and open and stretch at the same time. So you can grab it like that if you want to, grab it like that, and you're just pulling back. So you're going forwards and back, and we're getting good movement here. Okay, good movement here between these joints at the end there. All right, so again, you can work with that. No set time really, you can work as long as you want, but I think probably 2 or 3 minutes working around the foot is probably enough. Okay, if we come back this way, and if I have my hands together, just as a general movement, and just bring my thumbs together and my fingers underneath, so I'm pushing up underneath, and then I can again do this sort of movement. So if I just lay that down for a second, I'm basically underneath and I'm doing this sort of movement. Okay, it's a shearing movement, shear, shear. So let's come back, let's go over the top. So I can start on this side, shear, move along a little bit, shear, move along a bit more, shear, move along a little bit more. Okay, I can go into the centre, and again I can come into the ends this way. Okay, opening out. All right, okay, so there's the heel, and then there's that back and forward movement that we started with. Yeah, circular back and forwards, really loosening up and mobilising through the heel. Once you've done that, then we're going to grip round that first bone, if you remember. In comes the other hand over the top, and we're going to move in a circular fashion. Move it up and down sort of fashion, up a little bit more, and again a shearing type motion. Brilliant. Okay, so Let me just move the camera slightly, and from there I'm going to come over the top. Here's my shearing motion, and I'm going to work through the top of the foot. Okay, my fingers are underneath, let's go into the centre, shear, really move those bones on one another, working my way to the top of the foot. Now you can afford to be quite firm with this, a foot's quite a sturdy structure, so don't be too soft with it. Come over the top. Yeah, as you do, you might hear the odd pop or click, that's just gases escaping from the joints, that's not a problem. Okay, really work it free. Okay. One I haven't shown you, but again, his hands working in opposite directions. This is going that way, that's going that way. Yeah, and just make sure you work through the whole foot. And then back to other ones that you've done already. Okay, now by the end of that, your foot should be really nice and warmed up, should be nice and mobile. Let me just come this way for you. You get the idea. Okay, so try that, have a go with your running, do it beforehand, do it after if you want to, but get into the habit of doing it beforehand. Give your feet a chance, be kind to them, and you'll find often that rigidity that often builds in feet will be loosened out, and also that will help prevent any or potential injuries further down the line. Okay, here's something else I tend to use. It's called a prickle ball. Prickle ball helps to also get into some of the nooks and crannies in the actual ball and sole of your foot. Okay, so it's just a squidgy ball. So what I do with that, you can do it one of two ways. You can either sit with it and just rub it, again, up and down, all over, just to stimulate the soft tissues, the nerves, and to soften out some of these muscles, particularly some of the tighter muscles in the actual foot itself. Okay, or the way I tend to do it, which I think is a little bit easier, is to place the ball on the floor and then just put your weight down on it, so squash it and then work in quite a sort of a rigorous manner all up the foot. Turn your foot, get into the little nooks and crannies right in the toes, and you can spend as long as you want, but certainly a good couple of minutes, maybe slightly more, and you can do that a few times a day if you've got the time, but certainly just try and do it regularly. That's a great bit of kit for just keeping the sole of the foot and the ball of the foot nice and mobile.